So how'd that go?
Well, it was a very interesting meeting because the mayor invited everyone to give their opinion about where they thought the best location for the sign was. And some people suggested Yonge Dundas Square. There was a suggestion from the Yonge Street Business Association that it should be on a building off Dundas Square. And a number of us spoke about it really should be on the original site where it was, the original agreement stated it should be either on Yonge Street or Gould Street. So it was interesting to hear everyone's opinion. There was no exact consensus reached, but I think the feeling everyone came away with was that the discussion is still on the front burner and that Yonge and Gould is not off the table as far as a lot of us are concerned.
Okay. How do you feel about what's going on now with the sign?
Well, I'm encouraged that Ryerson is open to further discussion about the location of the sign. I think, you know, the people of Toronto and the feeling of all of the sign supporters, and there are many sign supporters out there, want to see the sign back in its rightful home on Yonge Street, and I think there's a good chance that we'll get that based on the discussions today. It's I think the first time I've heard any kind of suggestion that it might be considered. It's not off the table. So that's encouraging, and we part of the Save Our Sign group are looking forward to future discussions with the parties about where that's how that can be achieved.
And do you see, is that where you want the sign to go on?
Ideally, it should be at Yonge and Gould because that's its historical site. It's where it would be the most prominent visible location for it. A couple of people in the working group expressed concern about how if it was in Yonge Dundas Square, it might get lost amongst the business advertising, whereas what the Sam the Record Man sign is now is actually a cultural, historic symbol. And so there was some concern about it getting lost and losing its historic meaning in Dundas Square.
And last question, so how did President Levy react to the sign possibly going up on the building, because he's been pretty outspoken that's not what the building was designed for?
Right. Well, I think he heard us. He listened to our rationale for why the original agreement is the best one for the city and for the people who want to see the sign saved and preserved in its historic location. And I didn't hear him dismissing that outright. He did express concerns that he'd stated, that the city staff had stated in their report. But I think we challenged a number of those about the technical concerns. I asked Mr. Levy where the proof was that there had been due diligence done in trying to find a way to incorporate it into the designs for the new Student Learning Center, and he had to admit that he didn't have any proof that it was ever attempted in terms of a drawing that indicated, well, here we tried to include the sign here, and there was no evidence of that, he admitted, but he did say that there had been discussions about how to achieve that. So, as I say, we're encouraged that the discussion is still alive, and we're looking forward to a successful vote on October 8th at Toronto City Council, which would vote in favor of maintaining the original agreement.